Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Benham. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. And please, don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And welcome back to the Demon Inside.
Zakieya Avery, the mother of the 4 children, and her friend Monifa Sanford appeared separately on closed-circuit TV in court to hear the charges against them, and Judge Gary Everingham ordered both held in jail until their next court appearance. But the bizarre series of events that prosecutors believe led up to the murders has also resulted in court-ordered psychiatric evaluations of Avery's competency to stand trial.
The pretrial release workers recommended that there be a forensic evaluation of Miss Avery immediately, and we joined in that request.
Sanford's case has been delayed while she changes lawyers, but McCarthy says there's likely to be a psychiatric evaluation there, too.
It was the state's request that she be transferred immediately to Clifton T. Perkins Hospital for us to get an immediate evaluation of her psychiatric condition.
In court, McCarthy laid out a series of bizarre events, telling the judge that the 2 women murdered a 1-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy they believe were possessed by demons, and then tried to do the same to 2 older children.
Both defendants alleged that the demon leapt from the body of the last child into Miss Avery and then attacked Miss Sanford, who did suffer some fairly substantial injuries herself.
In court, the state's attorney indicated that the 2 women were involved in a church dance group called the Demon Assassins. There were at least 2 other members of that group, but the state's attorney says he does not believe those 2 people are involved in these murders.
We believe that Miss Avery was really, as she stated, that she was the commander of this group.
The defense team for both women did not object to the competency reviews, adding all they want in this case is justice. If eventually convicted, both women could face life in prison. In Rockville, Hank Silverberg, WUSA 9.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Benham, and today we will be doing the Demon Inside, Monifa Denise Sanford, and Zakieya Latrice Avery. So this is a little unique and different type of case. Now, for those of you that have been following, and you know that I do these things in pairs, and I try to find a pattern, you're really not going to believe this pattern. So, doing research for this case, I really couldn't find a lot of background. The only things that I could find are this. Monifa Sanford at the time was 21 years old. She was single, no kids, and living with her father. And the other one, Zakieya Avery, was 28 years old. Now, she was married and had 4 children. They were going to a church that was called the Zakieya Church. And this church was kind of a makeshift church that, they held it at a elementary school. And I'm not saying anything bad about churches like that, but the thing is that demons tend to find when people are starting up new churches, new religions, new things, because they want to try to mess that up. And a lot of times, pride goes into that, as it did with this. Because when you start thinking that you're better or stronger then God and you can defeat demons, that's when the demons actually show you that you can't. But let's get into this. So these two ladies were going to this church, and they actually met each other and became fast friends. They had only known each other 8 months. And during that 8 months, they started a group. You're going to like this. They started a group called the Demon Assassins. Now, according to them, and this is both of them, and every time I'm saying both of them, I mean both of them. They said this in the interrogation between both of them to the police in separate rooms. But the Demon Assassins were what they were. In other words, they were exorcists that were fighting off demons. Now, before I continue with that, let me go ahead and give you, as far as Monifa is concerned, I don't think she had any type of mental background, but a lot of her friends and family said that she was a little slow and she was a little impressionable when somebody would, tell her things. But Zakieya, on the other hand, I mean, she was a good mom. She was a good wife. Never had anything other than she did have mental problems. She had tried to kill herself twice in 2 separate occasions. But what happened was both of them together started to fuel each other and creating this demon assassins. Now, she called herself the commander of this organization. She said that, and this was Zakieya, and Monifa was a sergeant. Now, according to them, talking to the police, they had said that they had done many, many exorcisms before. Now, they talked to the head of the church that I mentioned earlier, and he says that he had heard of them doing that, and he said it was a little bit eccentric, but there was no harm, no foul. He said there was no violence in it, and he was okay with it, I guess. For me, that's a big problem because exorcisms are nothing to be handled by somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. Exorcisms should be handled through God, plain and simple. But let's get back into this. So these two ladies, on January 16th of 2014, were at their homes, and there was a 911 call that came through because of the neighbors. And the neighbors said that they saw the children, and this is in January, and this is up in Maryland, so it's cold as cold. And the children were sitting in the car. The heater was not on. They were in the car, and they were freezing to death, basically. This was like at 10 o'clock at night. So these neighbors called 911. They were trying to comfort the kids because the kids were crying in the car. And Monifa and Zakieya came running out of the house, and they got upset. And you can hear it on the 911 call, and I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now.
04. What's the emergency?
I have a baby in a car. It's been here for what it's reported to me about 45 minutes. The mother came out. She reported that she had something going on, and she didn't want her baby to be in danger in the house.
Are you just a citizen?
Back up off me, please.
I'm sorry?
You need to back up off me, man.
Hello?
Okay, I'm getting ready to be. I'm being attacked by 2 females at 19041.
Okay, why are they attacking you?
Because they came to check on the baby out here.
So after the 911 call, they ended up taking the kids back into the house. When the police showed up, the police came up to the door, knocked on the door. Nobody answered. The police could hear them inside, but they never responded. So the police put in that on the 17th, which was going to be the next day, they needed to be approached by Child Protective Services to see what was going on and to make sure that the kids are okay. Now, according to the two women, while this was happening, the reason they had their kids out, or her kids out in the car, was because supposedly they were waiting for a man named Troy, who they were going to do an exorcism on. Now, Troy never showed up. Nobody can really say if Troy was real or fake, but supposedly they were going to do an exorcism on Troy, and they didn't want the demons to get into the kids, or for them to have to be fearful of, what happens while they're doing the exorcisms. Now, between the night of the 16th to the morning of the 17th, these two women had been watching videos for the past 8 months or 6 months after Monifa had moved in. Because once Monifa or Zakieya broke up with her husband, Monifa moved right in, and they started secluding themselves. They stopped going to church. They stopped doing a lot of the things that they were doing, and they were just looking at exorcist videos of demons and looking how demons just pop up in videos and things like that. They were basically obsessed. Now, according to both of these women, the devil himself, Satan, told both of them that they were part of the demon assassins. Now, for me, that's kind of, your enemy saying, hey, this is what you're going to call it, because I know. It's like I said, mental disability, of course. There's always that significance. Well, not always, but there's that significance. And it's easier for these demons to approach that. But now you have these two women that are supposedly fighting demons, and Satan himself told these two women that they're going to be the demon assassins. Early in the morning, there's another 911 call. And this time it's a neighbor saying that she saw the door to the car open and there was a bloody knife by the sidewalk. So the police come to the house again and they knock on the door. Now, let me tell you what happened up until this point. At 5 in the morning, supposedly at 5 in the morning, the two women decided that Zakieya's 4 children, the 1-year-old, she had a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old. The 1-year-old, they decided, was possessed. They immediately tried to do an exorcism. Now, according to the police, there was no candles, there was no oils, there was no holy water, there was none of this stuff. That's usually how you perform exorcisms, is with holy oil, holy water, things like that, with the Bible. None of these things were present. But immediately, they tried to break the child's neck. Now I'm going to get a little graphic, so I apologize. When that didn't work, Zakieya, the mother, started choking the child. When that didn't work, she started stabbing the child until the child died. Now, with all the screaming, the 2-year-old was actually in the room watching this whole time. The other 2 children could hear the screaming. The oldest child saw Monifa grab the 2-year-old and slam the 2-year-old down to the ground. And then the mother came and started stabbing the 2-year-old. Now, I'm not going to try to get into the graphic nature of this, but basically, these 2 children died. The reason that they slammed and started killing the second child was because they said the demon jumped from the 1-year-old to the 2-year-old. After they killed the 2-year-old, they saw the 8-year-old boy at the door, and they chased him and stabbed him. Luckily, they didn't kill him. He got away from them. He fought them. They then thought or said that the demon had jumped to the 5-year-old, and they stabbed her as well. The 8-year-old and the 5-year-old, thank God, got away, but the other 2 children had passed. Now, when these 2 women were stabbing the children, Zakieya saw Monifa and said the demon had jumped into Monifa. So she started trying to stab Monifa. Now, Monifa put up a fight. She grabbed another knife from the kitchen and ran back upstairs, and they started stabbing each other. Now, I know this is strange enough already, but they both stopped stabbing each other and decided that the demon was gone, and they started taking a shower together. I don't know how that happens, but they started taking a shower together. After they're done, they started taking a shower of the 2 dead kids. And then after they were done with that, they took a shower of the boy who was still basically dying because of his wounds. Because they said that they needed the children clean in order to go to heaven. Now, before I continue with that, let me tell you this. According to them, Satan had told them that they needed to kill the children, or the children would not go to heaven, that they would go to hell. So they were doing this to save the children's souls. According to them both, they saw the black eyes of the children that kept jumping from person to person, and a black cloud that kept following them around. Now remember, this is both women in separate interrogations, and they are telling the police officers the same thing. By this time, the police get there, and they see the bloody knife, and they see bloody clothes where they had thrown out the bloody knives and the bloody clothes of the kids out the window because they were in fear that the demon had taken over the knife and the clothes. So they threw those out, and the police saw that, and they also saw keys in the back seat of a car that was out front. So what they ended up doing was taking the keys, going to the door, and seeing if one of those keys opened the door. Now, thank God that they did, because those keys did open the door. As they walked in, Zakieya was coming down the stairs with the boy, with the oldest 8-year-old, and she had him in a white blanket that was wrapped around him, and he looked like he had just taken a bath, which he had. They showered him. She grabs him and takes off running out the door, and the police catch her, and they arrest her, and they get the ambulance there, and Monifa comes out, and they arrest her as well. So, of course, the police go in, and they find the 2 dead bodies of the kids, and they find the sister, the 5-year-old, and they arrest these 2 women who immediately start saying that they were doing an exorcism and that the demon kept jumping from person to person. Now, of course, both of them pled not guilty, reason of insanity, and of course this works. Because if you're listening to a woman or anybody saying that they were fighting demons, you automatically think they're crazy. We remember this from Daniel Torres Jr. on one of my past episodes, where he said he killed his girlfriend because she had sent demons after him, and that he had killed these demons, and that he had proof and all this stuff. If you haven't heard that podcast, I'd suggest go back and listen to that. But these two women claimed that they were demon assassins. So, of course, they found them both guilty, and they sent them to a state hospital where they're getting treatment. Now, I'm going to talk about the second case I have.
A man who said he heard voices and kills demons is now under arrest, accused in the murder of a Montgomery County pastor. Roland Zinna was taken into custody Wednesday after police say he killed Connery Dagadou inside a Germantown home. Montgomery County reporter Kevin Lewis is there tonight with what Zinna yelled just before police arrested him. Kevin?
Well, Kimberly, a frantic 911 call, it led paramedics to this two-story residential church. The ambulance, it sped right on up that driveway, and that is when paramedics saw Zinna in the front door frame. He was pacing back and forth, jumping up and down as if he were dancing, and then he allegedly exclaimed, quote, "Demons, I kill demons."
Jesus was saying, I call you to help me frequency.
His legal name was Connery Dagadou, but while leading worship services in this brightly colored two-car garage, everyone called him the Apostle.
He prays for people. He casts out demons from people.
This woman, Precious Treasure Israel, recruited the Apostle to live in her home.
He is a man of God.
The 57-year-old often counseled total strangers, helping them purge evil spirits. On Tuesday, the Apostle met with this man, Roland Zinna. What was Roland doing in this room?
He spent the night with Grandpa. Grandpa said it's okay for him to sleep with me.
Precious says the night was full of religious rituals, but by Wednesday morning, things had gone awry.
When I got downstairs, Grandpa was sitting down, leaning against the television stand with his tongue out, with like this. Grandpa, I panicked.
Police say Zinna, who's charged with first-degree murder, was combative and kept shouting, "Demons! I killed demons!" Church members like Precious now reeling over their loss.
This is hard, but I know that he's in heaven.
And in keeping with their faith, members say they'll continue to hold church services in this two-car garage. As far as Zinna, police did take him to a mental health center where he reportedly told a nurse there, quote, "Yesterday I killed many witches. Yes, I do that. I kill them." We are live in Germantown tonight. I'm Kevin Lewis, ABC 7 News.
Now, Roland Zinna was a military person. He was in the Army, and he was a good guy, no background, no history of mental health, no nothing. According to his girlfriend, he had said that he had started to hear voices, and he believed they were demons. So he came to a place where this man, who they call the Apostle, and who also gets rid of demons, he came to this man for help. Now, this Apostle guy, he would do his sermons out of a garage. And one of his churchgoers was actually letting him stay at her house. This guy, Roland, came to them and asked the Apostle if he could help him get rid of these demons, and he said yes, he could. So he ended up staying there at the house of the Apostle. Now, this is in 2015. If I forgot to say that, this was in 2015. The other case was 2014. Now, the pattern, you're going to love this. So let me tell you what happens first with Roland and the apostle. Roland ends up killing the apostle. When the police show up at the house, they say that Roland is dancing, basically jumping up and down, happy, saying that he killed a demon and that he's a demon killer and he's a demon assassin. And he killed this guy, the demon, and basically he killed the apostle. And it was through suffocation that he killed him. Now the pattern isn't the same as far as the way they killed each other. Here is the pattern. You have the demon assassins, the two women, 2014. You have the demon slayer, the demon assassin guy, 2015. Both of these occurred in Germantown, Maryland. Germantown, Maryland. 7 miles away from each other. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. Now, if you want to get a little bit even more freaked out. So, in 1950, I think 56 or something like that, there was a case that became a big sensation. And you probably already know if you're into the occult like I am, but this movie was called, or this book was called The Exorcist. And of course, became a movie and a bestseller and all these things. But the thing that you don't know, and the thing that I freaked out on, is that a movie about an exorcist who's fighting a demon was actually filmed. And before that, the real exorcism story happened 30 minutes away from these two cases. It's basically on the other side of town. I freaked. Is this demonic possession? No, but it could be demon influenced. These women were saying that they heard Satan talking to them, and that Satan told them that they were going to be demon assassins. The other guy said he heard voices as well, and he went to the apostle for help. My thing is this: what are the chances that 2 exorcisms that end in death because of these people was also the original exorcist town? I'm telling you, this one really blew my mind. But I just, like I said, I find patterns, and this one just really took me by surprise. If you want to look it up, I suggest, I will put exorcism in Germantown, Maryland, 2014 and 2015. And then put exorcism in Germantown just like that, and then it'll come out with the books and the movies and everything else. There's got to be something to that, I think. Because what are the chances of 2 cases that are demon slayers or demon assassins 7 miles from each other? I'm talking, you go drive there in 7 minutes or whatever. It's like right there. And then on the other side of town, you know those famous steps where the priest jumps out? It's right down there, right down the end of the street. For me, that's much more than a coincidence. Could the movie have started this? Or was it the actual case before the movie? The one that Peter Blakely actually wrote about? I'm thinking it was something to do with that. And it's still there. And it's just weird that within 7 miles of each other, you have two churches. One's in an elementary school, one's in a garage. And both of these guys are called apostles. And both of these guys are called apostles. I think that's too much of a coincidence. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to y'all next week.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on all our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside podcast at gmail.com or click on the link down below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to our website, thedemoninsidepodcast.com. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was written and created by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King. And the title song, Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Fulber, composer lyricist Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One.